Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. Okay, so this is mad. The BBC are today reporting on plans by extreme far-right groups to infiltrate Reform UK in order to push them to more extreme policies. So, yeah, we're going to discuss how the far right are attempting to infiltrate Reform UK. And you think, but aren't Reform UK far right? Yes, they are. But there are those who are even more extreme. So I guess what we're talking about is how the far right Reform UK are being infiltrated by the even far righter. Will it work, and what will they aim to do? But first, for daily news and commentary, please hit the subscribe button to stay notified. So the BBC has been reporting on groups, particularly Patriotic Alternative, whose members include those convicted of, terrorism, race hate crimes, things like that, and who have been found calling for the murder of non-white people. The report suggests that they are actively encouraging supporters to infiltrate Reform UK in order to drag them to more extreme positions. So, as hard as it may be to imagine a more extreme political group than Reform UK, it's like, oh, yes, there are. Nigel Farage just wants to crush our economy for the sake of white supremacy. He doesn't actually advocate death squads. Some far-right supporters do. Though I don't imagine they would be looking at Reform UK to adopt that policy. Even they probably recognise that's maybe not a vote winner. But there are also other positions where Reform UK are considered too tame. For example, Reform UK have a policy of net zero immigration. Not zero immigration. Net zero immigration. If Reform UK implemented their immigration policies, like the ones that they legally could, not all of them are even possible, but the ones that would be legally possible, it would still mean hundreds of thousands of immigrants coming to live in the UK every single year. Positively woke. But will it work? Well, the will it work is actually a double barrel question. One barrel is, can they operationally achieve it? As in, can they get their own people elected as Reform UK politicians in significant numbers? The second barrel is, will they then be able to use that operation to make ever more extreme policies mainstream? It is possible that they could infiltrate Reform UK and steer policies, but that they overreach and it ends up costing Reform UK support from voters because they go too quickly. Remember, Nigel Farage keeps going out of his way to try and claim that his party is not racist, despite the fact a lot of their candidates are clearly racist. Why? Because he knows it's a vote loser if they become associated with racism, right? But even the process of infiltration will not be as easy as it was for, say, UKIP into the Conservatives. Reform UK is not a real political party. Like, it's registered with the Electoral Commission. Like, their candidacies in elections do comply with electoral law, but they're not run like political parties. Political parties have got like custodians, not owners. Those custodians are routinely changed. Reform UK is now jointly owned by Nigel Farage and Zia Yusuf permanently in law. They maintain complete control. They have full executive authority to determine policies, hire and fire candidates, hire and fire local party executives. The works. There's no due process in Reform UK. There is what Farage and Yusuf say should happen, and that's all there is to it. Obviously, statutory rights exist for employees and subscribers, which they call members, but that's about it. So it will not be a straightforward process for even more extreme groups to simply infiltrate and shape Reform UK. Like nearly 2 decades ago, UKIP did that with the Conservative Party. Sensing that they were close to winning power again under David Cameron, lots of UKIP activists joined the Conservative Party. Some of them got selected as candidates. So people like former Boris Johnson Minister George Eustice, for example. So when the Conservatives won power again in 2010, UKIP had effectively already won themselves entry into Parliament by the back door. And they joined up with like-minded figures already in the Conservative Party, such as Jacob Rees-Mogg, Steve Baker, Bill Cash, in order to work on the insurgency movement to force Cameron into Brexit, right? But that was relatively straightforward. If you were working as part of a well-organised network, all you need to do, get a load of people to leave UKIP, join the Conservatives, get involved locally. Even the process of being selected as a candidate could be managed because it's based largely on a vote by local members. So UKIP in certain areas would have enough supporters to go join the Conservatives en masse, vote for that guy to be the candidate because that's our guy, right? And they're selected. The same can happen with any political party which allows its members to decide anything. You just get a load of people to join the party, coordinate action according to the directions of their insurgency handlers. No such powers exist in Reform UK. Yusuf can choose candidates, and parliamentary candidates are likely to get more scrutiny from the party chair than council candidates because there's fewer of them. And as for shaping policy, again, there's no committee process for this. Farage ultimately decides. However, this is not in itself a firewall against infiltration. It's just an extra hurdle. Reform UK need a lot of candidates, and candidates and members alike. The way they try to avoid being infiltrated is when you join them, or when you want to be selected as a candidate, you have to verify that you've never been involved with groups such as, say, Patriotic Alternative, Britain First, and so on. This is so that if an association is unearthed, they can instantly drop you from whatever role you've got in Reform UK. But if these groups can get supporters without an online footprint to join Reform UK and get involved, won't be easy to uncover it. Also, we know that Reform UK's vetting procedure is still pants when you consider some of the online content that their winning candidates this month had publicly available. Quite frankly, it's probably possible for someone with Patriotic Alternative Forever on their Facebook page to get selected as a Reform candidate right now, although they would probably run the risk of being rumbled at some point. But there will still be plenty of suitable infiltrators who are a bit more canny or cautious about their social media use. The BBC article reported that one of the Patriotic Alternative figures behind the move had noted how what was considered acceptable for a Conservative MP to say these days has massively shifted by what the article describes as Reform success. That's not true. It's Farage's success. Goes right back to UKIP days. There hasn't been a sudden shift in the last few years. It has been going on for over 10. He has been pushing the envelope about what is a lot of what Nigel Farage says now, and a lot of what Conservative MPs say now, 10 years ago would have been absolutely beyond the pale. You'd have been kicked out of the Conservative Party. And Nigel Farage has done a lot of that. And the would-be infiltrators have seen that, and they're going, well, we can push this even further. Interesting to note some of their stated positions. First, anti-Semitism dressed up as anti-Zionism. One for the horseshoe theory there, that there's a lot of practical crossover between the extreme left and the extreme right. Anti-net zero, that is one exclusively for the far right because it's pro-mega corporation. But also they say they have a policy that there should be a supermajority of white Britons in Britain. Well, 3/4 of people in Britain are already white British. That's specifically white British, not just white. And, there's more when you add on people who are white from outside of Britain. So I'm not quite sure what they think a supermajority is. 3/4 usually covers it. In fact, legally speaking, in countries which use the concept of supermajorities in their electoral processes or referenda, for example, or in any other formal capacity, even 60% qualifies because a supermajority just literally means significantly more than 50%. Though, of course, if they want to maintain very high numbers of white British people in Britain, they'd best start learning to be pro-EU. Britain has had, for a very long time, a falling birth rate. The only reason our economy has even been stagnating, not crashing through the floor, that it's even been allowed to stagnate, is because of immigration. All the economic reports say so. And because of Brexit, that immigration is increasingly from Asia and Africa now. So, there's just not enough people being born in Britain. Sorry. So their plan has to be either Nazi love camps, which actually is possible because some of them are Nazis, or encourage freedom of movement with the predominantly white pool of workers in Europe. But on a more serious note, this needs watching. Because it is true, it's absolutely true. Farage has pushed the boundaries of what terrible ideas you can present as mainstream. There's been others involved as well, but if Nigel Farage was to be taken out of history, the state of social politics these days in this country would not be where it is now. He really has been instrumental in pushing that. Absolutely instrumental. These groups aim to use Reform UK as a vehicle to push for much worse. Now, if we want to avoid being swept up by fascist fervour in the next decade, socially progressive people are going to need to organise and be a lot better than just complaining very quietly with our almost zero public presence. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.